welcome to the Skaterade podcast. I'm Jasmine.
I'm Mac.
And today we are here with the one, the only Kianayouwanna, aka Kiana Maxwell.
Hi.
Hi.
Care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, like you said, my name is Kiana. Not a lot of people know my last name, so I love that you know that. But yeah, I'm Kiana. I'm 25. I've been skating for almost 8 years, and yeah, I live in San Diego, California. Oh, and my pronouns are they, them.
Care to tell us a little bit about your roller skating journey, how you started skating, what has happened over the course of the years that you've been skating?
Yeah, well, a lot has happened since I've been skating for so long, but I think just to kind of like summarize how I got into roller skating, basically, I moved from Boise, Idaho when I was 18, like literally just turned 18, and my mom took me up in a car and said, "You're coming to Cali and you're going to college." So that is what happened. She was at my doorstep of my aunt's and drove me all the way from Boise to Cali. I was born in Cali, but I moved to Idaho when I was like 11 years old just because it was my dad said a better environment for me to just, go to school and like I was able to this is a long-winded just to get to the roller
That's
skating.
okay.
But anyways, so I was in Idaho for like 8 years or something. Came to Cali, and in between all that, I basically was breaking up with a boyfriend that I had. I didn't want to, but long distance is hard, and obviously like your first love or whatever is really difficult. So when I went to Cali, I wanted something new, and I'd watched the movie With It and always wanted to try roller derby. So that was the sport that I thought, well, it's team based. I'll make new friends. Like, I'll surround myself with a positive community. And that is how I got into roller skating. I'll have to look back at the date because I did share it on my story like a little bit ago, where those little Instagram prompts where it says, "Skaters, take us back to the beginning." I went through my whole Instagram and found that post when I first went to like my first roller skate practice. And then from there, I did roller derby for like a year or 2 years. It's kind of fuzzy. I don't really know. And then in between that, started just going to the park because I had watched a Moxi roller skates video with, I guess, the original people like Millie, Estrogen, Pigeon, Dita, and Legs, and just got like really inspired to go to the park. So then I started doing that. What was that? 2015. So like I think 2017, it might even be 2016 I started, but I was like freshly new, so still didn't even know what I was doing. And then since then, I don't know. I My first sponsor was Sin City Skates, and then I got sponsored by Triple Eight and 187. Triple Eight and 187 are like technically the same company, but they merged. So I'm technically on the Triple Eight quad team, but at the same time, I'm just sponsored by both. And then from there, I was sponsored by Moxi. And then from there, like when the pandemic hit, a lot of collaborations and attention started being drawn to more park skaters. So from there, I got sponsored by Gold CBD, and then I got sponsored by other stuff like Coldest Water. And I'm trying to think of some other ones. There are a lot of smaller things that are more like commission based, but it's still pretty cool to like be recognized.
Yeah.
And then I worked for Moxie for a little bit too, but that has recently ended. And yeah, I mean, so much stuff has happened. I also was the admin and still am the admin of CIB San Diego. And then most recently, I started, after being inspired by Mothra, the skater, an SD Skate Fund social media where we community based, like, share wheels, bearings, all that stuff, whatever we don't use to keep everyone rolling. I, from having sponsors, always collected so much roller skate stuff and it just sat. I still have stuff that I feel like could go to people. And as much as like I test things and definitely need bearings eventually, I just feel, so many other people don't even have the money to start skating. Like they'll get a skate. They probably don't know the quality, and the quality might not be the best. I'd rather give those bearings to someone who might need them, or those wheels or whatever. And like in the end, I always just feel like full circle, it might come back around. So yeah, I'll pick up stuff from people in the area. People have been claiming stuff. I'll drop it off, and in return, they've been donating a bunch of stuff. Yeah, and then at our last, like, CIB meetup, people donated a whole bin full of stuff too. So, stuff like that where, like, even if you don't know about SD Skate Fund, if you come to a CIB San Diego meetup, I just have this whole bin that you can go through, and if you need anything, you can take stuff. So, yeah, it's been
Okay,
pretty cool.
cool. That's awesome. So backtracking a little bit, I know that you don't work for Moxie any longer, but when you did work there, were you telecommuting or physically commuting to Long Beach from San Diego?
Yeah, so I worked remote, but not every day.
Mm,
So I
okay.
most of my workload was just at home, but if they would have events or if I don't know, was feeling fun that day or like we got new product in or something, then I would just go up there and work for the day. And of
Cool.
course, a lot of my friends were up there, and I love hanging out with Chev, Rebel, Evelyn, Kayla, all of them anyways. So sometimes I just stay up there for 3, 4 days and I just hang out at the same time.
Cool.
So
That's awesome. And from the beginning, back when there was a Moxie skate team and all that good stuff, how do you
mhm.
feel like Moxie has changed from that time till now, being someone who has worked there relatively recently, even though you don't work there anymore?
Moxie has changed a lot even for like them being a small business. But I do think like as far as how they've grown, not just in size, because they used to be like what 5 best friends. And not even that. I think it was primarily like Estro and her sister Legs and or sorry, her sister Lolly and Legs. But from
Mm-hmm.
going from that to like having more of a fully established business with like healthcare and people with actual roles and stuff like that, I think it's changed a lot. And also just the way that they can do more community stuff. Like they started
Mm-hmm.
with, or the past 2 years, I guess, right? They had Quad Cup, and then they started doing, like, those community events where they would teach people to skate, and I believe they're still doing them. I think they're just not under, like, Sunday Funday anymore. So just, like, in the growth of, like, adding people who, really care about their community and, like, wanna see changes and want, like, more representation, they've just been able to do a lot more stuff, with, folks who can help them do that. But other than that, I mean, they have a lot of growth still, but I just think, like, on a aspect of going from inspiring, like, I watched the video and I was inspired to skate, they're now making more of an impact on the community and able to actually have more hands to do stuff, and they still had camp too and stuff like that, which is mind-blowing that a small business to me does stuff like that because it's a lot of people going to a camp, but just being able to see the process of, like, when I went to camp in 2019, how that was run to, like, the little changes they've made to, like, have, skaters physically selling their items and, like, more campers and just, like, creating better experiences. A lot has changed. But, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just kind of, like, the outside. The inside is obviously way more, I don't wanna say complex because that sounds negative, but there's just so much that I think, like, the community needs, and I also just don't think one company can do it all. Yeah,
That's
I
real.
hope that kinda gives a little
No, no.
insight on, like,
No,
their growth.
totally, totally. Yeah, it really does, honestly. So, for this next sort of segment, what I'd like to chat about is your work as an artist and also your interactions with other skater creators like yourself. And obviously, clowns are a central theme in your work. What do clowns represent to you?
Yeah. I started getting into clowns when I started, like, exploring my gender and identity because a lot of times when I would see clown stuff, like, obviously people can be like, "This is a femme clown," and, like, "This is a masculine clown." But I feel like a lot of drawings and, like, a lot of people dressing up, like, there was no question of the gender. It was just like, "This is a clown, and the clown looks cool, and the clown has style," and I really like ruffles, and I just felt like I started drifting towards, like, more expressive makeup and just going more into a clowny theme. And I just felt like that, I guess, I identified with because, again, when I was trying to figure out more of my gender and I'm non binary and my pronouns are they, them, I just realized when I dress up as a clown, it doesn't matter what my gender identity is. Like, everyone just compliments my style and my makeup and like they think I look cool. And that's like all that I want people to get out. Obviously, if they see me just base level. Yeah, I've just stuck with that, and I feel like I f I feel like you can totally be expressive in your makeup and people won't judge you, but clearly are going for like a clown look. Like that's the style, that's the thing. And no one like questions you on like, oh, your makeup looks really wild today or like different. It's like, well, yeah, that's the whole point. So
Yeah.
it was just something fun to associate myself with so I could just be who I am pretty much. And then with like my drawings and stuff like that, I wonder if I have the book. I think I have the book down here, but my cartoon Kiana's evolved from, like, honestly being very depressing because I started drawing when I was not a happy person in college to, like, now they're really cute, fun, and, like, clowny, and, yeah, if you I could totally send you some, like, old comics if you'd like to see them, but I think just, like, going through college and, like, figuring myself out, and I'm still in that process, a lot of my art is expressive of that. So my art being depressing and like sad back then was tailored towards my life. And then it being cute, fun, cloudy now is, just showing that I definitely have it a lot better than I did 5 years ago. So
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like a really affirming experience, especially on the gender piece, which I've I've kind of felt similarly about clowns and kind of any type of that type of like caricature where you're like it's more about what that thing is versus like
hmm
any of those gender pieces, and you can also just do so much with it, I feel, and be so playful with it because there isn't really like a right way to do it
hmm
either, or like a wrong
Yeah,
way. Yeah, so that's really cool. Thanks for sharing
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
I had no idea there was so much behind that. It's just so beautiful. I love that. So, you also make merch as a skater. From what I understand, you have a pretty great collaborative relationship with your mom. Would you care to elaborate on that?
So it's my stepmom who's in Idaho, and she has a
Oh,
business.
stepmom.
Yeah, I try to just call them both my mom because I feel like when I was younger, for me, it was hard to be like, like, oh, this is my stepmom and this is my mom. So I'd purposely say stepmom to be like, like for me, I needed that separation. But now I'm like, why was there a separation? They're both my mom. They both raised me. But yeah, she has a shop, a small business that she does with my cousin Tatum, actually. And they make so much cool stuff. I think it's called Party to the People is the business, and they literally do it out of my grandma's house, and it started as like a fun thing during the pandemic, and it's grown so much bigger. They basically do stuff like with bags, and now they do like labels on wine, and it's for like people who throw parties or get-togethers, stuff like that. If you needed little like specific party bags for a birthday party or a wedding or whatever, that's what they tailor to. And for Moxie Camp West last year, I can't believe it's already a new year. I'm like, my timeline is all messed up. But she helped me make some tote bags with my art on them, and I thought that was really cool. And she gave me more insight to just how the business ran and like how I could even start that myself. And that was really cool because I'd never had my stuff on like physical, like no t-shirts, no totes, like bags or anything, except for me physically painting on them. And I even have those bags.
Mm.
Like I never sold them just because I wasn't ever proud of them. I was like, this isn't, there's marks on here or like I don't know, I just am like really hard on myself perfectionist wise. So to see
Huh.
that like there was something on a bag that I approved and like really liked, it was really cool. And yeah, I almost sold out of like all of them. I think I just had one design didn't do so well, so I had a lot of those totes. But it's just really cool to see if I put more effort into my art and the things that I do that people will actually want to buy more stuff.
It must have been really nice to be like, okay, here's this like physical thing for the first time, I imagine.
Absolutely, yeah. I still have I actually have a couple of the bags. I think I kept one of each design just so I could, like, use it and look at it and just remember the moment because I don't know that we'll collab for a while just because she's super busy right now with, holiday stuff still, but just to be able to see that, like, this happened and this is a thing that I could make happen again is really, really cool.
Yeah, so something that I really love about your presence on social media is that you talk a lot about supporting other skater creators And I'm the same way. You're the same way. Like, we just like love to buy DIY stuff from skaters. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how we could motivate more skaters to invest in other skaters' products. Because I feel a lot of the time we're not investing in one another. And Mac and I were talking about that just before we started the podcast today. And they were kind of saying we could have our own small economy within the skating world, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, I have a lot on that. I feel like, well, first off, like it takes like effort for people to look for other skaters. Like there's another way to say it. Like a lot of times when people are like, why is this not doing well, or how come I'm not being seen? It's because people aren't looking for you. And like it's frustrating in the skate community because I do feel like, you know, as much as a lot of skaters have the ideal to be like, I want to support other skaters and I want to support skate businesses, to find those businesses without a big brand or a big company doing the work to share that with you, it's really hard with the algorithm to just pop that up for you. Like honestly, especially if it's, you know, Black, Indigenous, people of color, or like trans skater businesses too. Like you just have to do the work to be like skate podcasts, or like go on Spotify and be like, okay, I really like this skate podcast. How do I find another? Or I like this skater's art. Like, how do I like find another if they're not also already doing collabs together? So I feel like a lot of the times, like I used to travel a lot more too. So when I traveled, I would find a lot of people, but just like going on Instagram, a lot of the times I'll look through like artists' tags, or if they're doing collaborations, or if they go to markets and stuff like that. That was one thing that I really liked doing when I worked at Moxi, like was whenever we had the chance to share other skaters, or skaters who made art, or just whatever, like it didn't just help me but helped other people find like other people to support. And yeah, like it's just hard. You have to do the work. And I know that not everyone has the time, but it's like, again, with Instagram algorithms or like TikTok algorithms, whatever, if you want to support other people, you just have to do the work to find them. And I think, again, those little steps by like following new people, or taking it one step further and seeing all the skaters that are at the market, whether you go or not, like that's how you're going to find more people. I don't know. When I went to RollerCon, on my Twitch, sometimes I'll do like hauls and stuff like that to share like those businesses. Even if you go to RollerCon next year, it's like, you know, did you know that you could shop from all these people? Well, if you didn't, now you know. So just like being able to share that too can help other people find other artists. And yeah, people who have small businesses.
Yeah, you're really speaking to like some of the structural barriers that are in place that, you know, kind of by design make it difficult for people to build those economies, you know?
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, we've been talking about trying to do some kind of like market just to facilitate some of that kind of connecting here in New York.
Yeah. And I definitely think that's also where like brands could do, not even just brands, but like competitions. Like one thing I love about a lot of comps in the skate community is that they'll normally have like skate markets, or like they'll have, you know, brands who fund the comp, or even just come to bring food or stickers or just anything that they sell, so that, you know, not only does it liven up like the comp, but it gives an opportunity for other people to just share their part in the community. But I think that like, you know, even just that isn't something that comes to their mind when they organize stuff. So I think like it'd be so cool if someone just made like a like fun pamphlet of like things you want to consider whenever you do anything, and like community support and small businesses like should be top priority on that, because that's where everything starts out from in the community. Like all of these brands started as a small business once, so for like them to continue supporting other small businesses is key to keeping a community rolling, basically. And also I feel like in our community, like sometimes, especially with social media, it's like if you don't also, I guess, cry help, it's like sometimes people don't know that you need the help. So I feel like all the time I'll constantly be like, please share this thing, share this thing. I need you to share it. Like, don't do it later, do it right now. Because like even I know that when people need help, I'll forget. Like I'll save a post and be like, I'll come back and share that. But it's like, shoot, I forgot. So like just the constant ask is always great as a community, but I love that like every time y'all pop up on my feed, like I love that it's either something that's tagged by someone else or like you're shouting out someone because I just feel like your energy and the like community aspect that you already hold, like even just in your story posts, is so great because you are already introducing me to like other skaters by doing that. So I just hope that it comes around full circle for y'all as well.
Thank you. That's so kind of you. One other thing I want to know is in terms of skater creators, who are some creators that you're excited about right now?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love this. Okay. I wish that I prepped for this question because, and I can totally get you a list too, but off of the top of my head, I might be doing something soon with a gender shredder, and I'm not sure their name because I always just go by like Instagram names. But we've talked about doing something, and I love their work. Like I have some of their pieces already. I love that they have a skate team that's diverse and that like just in general, they're like, we want to put BIPOC people first on the team. Like I just love their whole like I don't know how to explain it, but just the way that they think about things because it's very similar to how I think. So I really like them and their stuff. I adore obviously Shove and Rebel. From the start, like they're just awesome in general, but a lot of like Rebel's creations are really cool. And I personally have a lot of stuff from Shove too. Like my favorite beanie has my pronouns on them. They say they, them, and it's like the most comfy beanie I've ever had. And then I have a bag by them that I carry a lot of skate stuff in, and it's got I don't know if you've seen it. It's the one that says like I have rolls, and it's a skater by like I don't know what they're called, but like the little bread with what are those called?
The concha.
Yes. Yeah. And so I have like a couple of things from them, and Rebel just I love that she just has like the rainbow in all of her products because I can always find something turquoise. I'm trying to think of who else I really like. Oh, Brain Freeze Wax. I don't know why it didn't pop up ASAP. I love Maria so much, and one of my other friends who lives in San Diego is sponsored by them, and I just love their team. I love their wax. I got their wax very recently. Going with wax, Ghoulie obviously has like the coolest designs in wax. Like I really wish I had snagged some, but I have the little cassette. But I just feel like I've never seen wax in like those little shapes that she's done them before. I'm trying to think of who else. Missy's shop, Tutia Skate. I know is a brand, and also I used to work with Missy, so I always try to support them too when I can. And also, I'm pretty sure Missy just did a camp in the East too recently, which was really cool, called like the Tutia Scramble.
Yeah.
So that looked really cool.
Yeah, they did that at Bell Airfield. That's like such an amazing DIY skate getaway. My pal Doreen Bell Airfield owns the place, and it's very, very cool.
Oh
there.
Yeah, Belle. Yes, well, talking about another person, Belle.
Yeah.
The zines that Belle makes.
Yeah,
really cool
Roller
too.
Rag.
Yeah, Roller Rag. I've been like trying so hard to submit
Mhm.
something to Roller Rag, but my photographer and I can like never make a date. So I hope one day I can get something in there. Also, I feel like I have to
Cool.
like go down the list, right? With, mags, like obviously Anti-Click Dita. Dita, on the last issue, we actually have a picture of me on the back side from when I like first started skating. I think that was like in year 3 that I've been skating or something. But yeah, I love the support and the zines always from Dita. And then what is the other mag that I'm thinking of? Why can't I? Oh, Dog Days is really cool as well.
Dog Days. Dog Days is European, right?
Yes. Which is so interesting to
Okay,
me
cool.
because like when I look at their events and stuff like that, like a lot of their zines have a lot of American skaters in it, which is awesome. But I just feel like it could be so easy to stay in one spot, and yet they really keep up with a lot of events. I'm pretty sure that I don't know if they had a booth necessarily, but I know that they had their zines at the last Quad Cup, and I believe that they had people there doing recording. I can't 100% remember, but it's cool to see like you know, other people outside of the US really involved in a lot of current skate events.
They must be super organized.
Yeah, right? I know. Okay. Now that I'm thinking about stuff, a lot of people are popping up into my head. The more that I talk, the more I'll just keep remembering, and it's definitely over at least, like, it's a lot of people. So, because I feel like I can't kind
Yeah.
of be like, "Oh, I'm hot about this one person right now," because it's like, well, everyone's making new stuff, every single day that, like, I'm gonna be hot about a bunch of people, like, every other day. So, I was just gonna say with me, like, I feel like sometimes I forget to do this one introduction, but not just like, my gender identity and being queer is a part of, is obviously a part of me, but also being neurodivergent. I have ADHD, so I feel like I will constantly like remember stuff, or like once we get on a topic and I start rolling, I finally am like, oh yeah, all of these other people are this and that and whatever. So yeah, that's also another big identifier about me, which is why I love roller skating.
Very
Cool.
cool.
Yeah. I have ADHD too, and I feel like skating and like roller derby and like stuff that's where a lot's happening is just always really it for me.
Yeah.
And like particularly street skating, I really enjoy because I feel like there's just always stuff coming at me, and there's a lot of like newness. Even like streets I skate all the time, it's just like the whole route is kind of different.
Hmm.
And it's my understanding that like you also have been leaning into street skating a little bit. Is that real for you?
Yeah, I would say it's real. I mean, there's like definitely, I feel like in the skate community a debate about like what is street skating? And I feel like I do a lot of like park skating street, but like if you send me to a random location that is definitely street skating, like I thrive because it's something new and something I've never been to before that I'll definitely throw my body around. But I like actively seeking it out. I feel like I don't unless I have a group of people to go with just for safety reasons. So,
I think we have heard you say on Instagram too that like as a park skater with ADHD, like having a sometimes like going to a new park
mhm.
can be something that helps. And I think like what I'm really getting at in the bigger picture is like, where is the crossover for you with like ADHD and skating? And like, do you feel like those things relate, or do you feel like they impact, one another in any way?
Absolutely. I feel like they relate and impact because, for example, like when the pandemic hit, I had to get really creative to try to skate. I actually have a video that I still need to release of me basically making like a whole setup in our when I used to live somewhere else, not this house, but trying to make like just this whole route so I could skate this curb, but I couldn't because our parking lot was like gravel, like chunky gravel. So I had to get really creative in the pandemic, and I feel like I skated a lot less because of that aspect, not being able to go somewhere or go out, skate the same flat spot or like street was really tough. But like when I first started skating, I live in San Diego. I would go to Venice like multiple Saturdays just to skate with new people, to skate with like go to the Venice Park. I would travel to Long Beach even before working at Moxie just to skate because I loved like again meeting new people, going to different meetups, skating different parks. And I feel like that's where I thrive with having ADHD and roller skating is just being able to have that newness each time, being able to like get more creative and be creative, but I also again, like, it can impact me, like, if I'm stuck inside or I, uh, I don't know, keep going to the same park over and over. Sometimes it gets really tough to try to be creative, but I also just think that in general, like, sometimes you just get burnout and, like, you need to allow yourself to, like, have that burnout to either get creativity again, whether that's, watching other skaters on social media or, like, being the friend that videos your friends because you are just like, "I don't really know what I'm gonna do here today." Sometimes I need to take that time to do that, and then once the spark comes back again, I'm, readier than ever, so
Do you feel like skating kind of impacts, I guess, broadly your mental health, but
Mhm.
also any aspects of how you experience ADHD? Because sometimes I process best when I'm like moving, when I'm skating,
Mhm.
or like sometimes doing that helps me focus later in the day. And I wonder if you have any experiences like that.
Yeah. I feel like it's very therapeutic in the aspect of, like, when I need to process, I can, like, take the time it really depends because, like, once I went through like a really hard breakup, not just the one that got me into roller skating, and I couldn't skate for like a month. And it was hard because I'm a very emotional person. So all I wanted to do was cry, and like I'd be skating and I'd be crying, and I was like, I can't even see. I can't even skate. Like it was very hard for me. And so like for a month I didn't skate until I, felt better and was able to go back to the park and like think, because I feel like what skating does for me is because I'm constantly thinking about what I'm going to do at the park. Like if I can't think about skating, then I can't skate. So to me it's not necessarily like a thing where like I process stuff while I'm skating, because I am literally thinking about skating normally when I skate. But it is a nice getaway. So like if I need that time to like step away from something, or get out of the house or whatever, then in that aspect it's therapeutic. But I don't think I can go skate when I think feeling more on like the sad end. Anger definitely motivates me. Because like if I get frustrated about like, I definitely know in the skate community a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but like there have been talks of um like when people say like bigger bodies can't skate, or like there's not enough like uh people of color skating, etc. Which like when I first started skating, I didn't see a lot of people like me like on social media, which is another reason why I started skating. And back then I was definitely fitter. So I think like even just speaking to that, there's so much more diversity now. But a motivator, like when I hear like negativity about like certain people, whether it's color, like you know, neurodivergent people, queer people, etc., like that there is not enough people doing that, or that they can't do this, or like that like for example, I've specifically heard like I feel like I'll hear people say like, I don't see a lot of people of color street skating, and I'm to which I will go, I don't think you've searched hard enough, honestly. But like that was like one of the big motivators to start street skating, because I was like, okay, well, I know that I haven't touched the ledge in forever and I'm really scared of it. So let's start, especially hearing that and hearing that and not seeing like the representation on social media. It was like, okay, well, here's my motivation to start, because that angers me that like someone has to say that. And also it angers me that you're not doing the work to find those people or to teach those people to like street skate or etc. So I think that that's more of a motivator to skate. But I would just say like in
Yeah.
a therapeutic way, if like I can only think about something else, then I probably won't skate. Um, but I don't know. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, totally. What I'm kind of hearing too is that like with skating, you're very, very present in like what you're doing.
Yeah,
Like that, and like if there is other stuff going on, it's hard to like maintain that presence in the ways that you want
absolutely.
to.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's delve into more of your park skating and general skating experiences. So, as an advanced skater, you're still pursuing new accomplishments. Do you feel like it's ever enough? Because you're a pretty accomplished skater. Like, do you think that there's ever a point where you'll be like, oh, I've done it all. I've accomplished what I've set out to accomplish as a skater?
I don't think so, which is also another reason why I like roller skating to that degree with ADHD, because there is so much you can do. There are so many parks you can go to, like so many tricks. I think it's awesome that like again, like with parks being different, I could do a handstand on a quarter pipe, but I could also do a handstand on a spine, or I can do a handstand on this really giant vert bowl, etc. Like there's so many tricks that like even if I can do them, I can do them in different spots and different spaces and incorporate them in different lines, that I don't think that I could say like I'm fully ever going to be accomplished, because there's just too much I can do. Like I don't think there's any like like I don't think I can like be a hacker in the aspect that, I can figure out all the possibilities of skating, because there are so many that I don't even know I would get close in my lifetime. There's so many new people coming into the skate community and making new tricks and doing new things that like from when I started skating, I think flips were kind of like a really big thing, because you had like estrogen doing like the Baranis and the backflips, and that was like a big inspiration for me to like try the aerial. But like from then, I feel like we're more into like a street like a street style skating, I think is really big right now that like, there could be so many different things. Like who knows what the next thing that is going to, be, I don't want to say the trend, but is going to be like super popular. And I just think like going with whatever's popular or like figuring out like what the next new trick is, like I don't even know what that's going to be. That I just don't think I could ever say I'll be satisfied or like fully accomplished. Especially because like I said earlier too, street skating I avoided so much, not necessarily because I didn't have the inspirations for it, but because I just like felt comfortable in the park and just for so long like avoided a lot of street skating that yeah, I don't know what is to come next. Like what it was almost like 6 7 years until I kind of like started doing more street skating aspects that, who knows in the next 7 years what's going to be available for me to try.
The thing I really love about all types of skating, like skateboarding, blading,
Mhm.
quad skating, is that really the combinations are like endless, like, and the creativity is endless. And you can see that over the course of the development of those sports. If you look at how people were first skateboarding to like some of the stuff people are doing
Mhm.
now, it's like people just iterate forever and ever and ever.
Absolutely.
And that is totally a part of what makes it fun and makes it like a creative sport, is that it's all about what you kind of bring to it.
Absolutely.
How you can iterate.
Yeah. Before I started roller skating, I actually used to skateboard, not like very well or anything, but and then I stopped just because I was like I don't really care for this. So even like if I stopped roller skating, I feel like I'd pick up blades or like a skateboard or something else. So yeah, I don't know. It'll always be there.
Yeah.
So, in the vein of accomplishments, we want to congratulate you on your wins at Blading Cup.
Thank you.
Quad Cup, we should say. Yeah. So, we heard that the formation of the first ever non-binary category at Blading Cup was sort of put together at the last minute, or it was chaotic in some way. What was it like being there amidst all of the chaos? What was that experience like?
Well, what's interesting is that I don't like I didn't even realize that there was chaos happening because I was uninformed about the fact that there was a non-binary category. So I was signed up by my sponsors, and with that meant that like obviously, if there was a category at the time of signups, then they what I would have hoped is that they would have asked me, but I was probably just put in it. And with that, like even throughout going through Blading Cup, like I would have thought that like someone else would have talked to me about it or been like, hey, like what do you think about this happening? Or like, did you know? Like, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought that I had signed up correctly. And if I didn't, then I want to be corrected so that I, know it's on my end. But like no one talked to me about it until literally the ceremony that I was driving back to my friend's house with my partner. And I was like, okay, Denver, I can't remember what the shop is. I think it's just like Denver Skate Shop, was live and I was watching the winners because I was like, I really don't think that like I won, honestly, which is fine because I'm not there just for winning. But like, so I'm gonna go home because I'm really freaking tired and hungry and I'm feel hurt. Like I kind of have like knee problems, so I just wanted to go home and basically go to bed. And then I saw that like I don't even think I registered that it said non-binary category. I think I just heard my name and I was like, wait a minute, like what is happening? I just won something. And then from there it went to like I think another non-binary category or went to another category and I just like listened and like heard again that like more non-binary skaters won. And so like at first it was really exciting because my process, my thought at least was that like maybe they had these categories for more people to win. Like it wasn't necessarily that like, all the non-binary people were going against each other. It was like, out of like how these people wanted to identify during the comp, these are just people who scored really high and these are people who won. And I was like, that's really exciting. Like that's super cool. Like I could see that with maybe their thinking. They were like, we just really want to shout out like, you know, these non-binary skaters that are currently at this event. And having been like a strong non-binary presence and trying to advocate for that. I just thought it was really cool and thought that, like, it's just more people winning. But again, processing, because like when things are sprung up on you, I don't think that you can fully process and understand, like, the back end to like the thinking of stuff until you have time to think. So I think, like, thinking about it, trying to, like, first off, when I went to Quad Cup, I didn't work at Moxi anymore. So I didn't even know if I would feel comfortable going because I was still processing that and trying to figure all of that out.
Okay.
That, like, going to Quad Cup and, being around a bunch of people that I just worked with and, being in the community and, like, just having to feel social when I wasn't feeling ready for that yet was really hard. So again, like, having all that to process, having won something, and then, like, immediately being like, okay, great, I have to put that money towards bills now and basically go back into survival mode was already a lot. And it wasn't really until that, like, I listened to uh, Anxiety, Mud's, I believe Mud is their name, their podcast with Chuffed, that I kind of listened to that and was like, oh, holy heck. Like, did they categorize us to make us, like, go against just non-binary people, or like what's happening here? And I still don't know whether we have the answers to that or not. Because I don't know that scores have even come out yet, and I don't know, like, if they're going to explain at all, like, whether, like, why they did the categorization or anything. But when I listened to that podcast, I felt really weird about it because I was the only non-binary person to compete in the advanced street skating, which, like, I'm not mad about winning because I think that, like, everyone should have an accomplishment, and to only be, like, I don't know, I guess the only non-binary skater in the advanced category, like, is cool, but at the same time doesn't really show anything because not everyone can afford to go to Quad Cup. Not every skater in the world is at Quad Cup. Like, I don't think it's necessarily fair. So, like, for one thing, the process that I had was like, oh, it's really cool that I had this opportunity. And, you know, I guess I was the only person in that category. But then at the same time, it's like hearing that second and third got nothing. It made me feel shitty because, like, the whole reason why I do comps is obviously so I can be seen, so I can have fun and to compete. Like, that is why I like comps. I also want competition, but not just that, is like to be inspired. So, like, you know, let's just say in the future that, like, Quad Cup gets really big, and if they do the categories again, are they gonna split, like, let's say for street, right? You had heats or whatever. If you were to only split people, like male, female, and then or I don't know how they categorized it, but and then non-binary skaters, let's say you had enough for, separate heats. Like, are you gonna separate people in that aspect, or are you gonna keep them still mixed? Like, it just didn't seem right.
Yeah.
And in that aspect of, like, being inspired, obviously you can skate, you can watch and still skate. But, like, I like doing comps because I also get to skate with all of my favorite skaters in an aspect where we all push ourselves. And you can totally see that from the outside by watching as well. But, like, it's different when you're competing because, especially with knowing people, like, you're still, at least for me, I'm still supportive. I'm still excited for that person. And I want them to do their best, whether, like, they win, I win, anyone wins, whatever. But just, like, again, thinking about it, it's like, if this was to get bigger and you had categories, are you going to separate us? And if so, like, how is that just going to look? It might look different. It might feel different. It just might be different in general. And it just, like, I'm still processing it, I think. And I don't think that it's right. Like, that's not the right way to do things. I think that you can have more categories in the aspect of, winning for, like, best trick or, best bail or, like, whatever, instead of, like, doing it gender wise, because with gender already being, complex and, like, not a lot of people are out, and it just not necessarily being, like, for some people their full identity when you talk about a skater, like, you know I just don't think that that necessarily needs to be involved. While like I'll look at Blading Cup where they'll have like bladies and stuff like that. I think that's really powerful for them, and I love that. But again, like that, not for everyone. That's not something that they want to necessarily attach to them being a skater. They like, for example, I'll just use me. Like, while non-binary, like in the future, I do hope that instead of like necessarily using they them pronouns, I want people to use my name more than just like they them pronouns. Mostly because like I have attached myself with they them pronouns because I feel that is better than using like she her pronouns. But like I'm also just Kiana, I am me, and like I want people to see me as that more than like, um necessarily my gender or like my pronouns. Because that also looks different for everyone. And I don't want like people to like with androgyny and stuff like that. Like I don't want people to be like, this is Kiana. That's what all non-binary people look like, right? It's like, no, that's not true. So, like if being non-binary wasn't so big for me because now that I feel like I have to be an advocate as much, but like again, being, um, like when I was started roller skating and I guess had the platform. And I'm sure that there are other skaters out there and I just, haven't also seen them. But like being non-binary was a big advocate for me while I was skating, just because it is something I feel really powerful about. But when I don't know, just like it's tough. It's tough. Because again, everyone is different, and like at the same time, advocating for like trans non-binary skaters and just different gender in general is powerful in a sense at comps and at like really big events like that. Again, that's not the same for everyone. I just don't think like gender necessarily is a good category when we've been fighting to get out of categories. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like in many ways, would you prefer like a more of like an open comp where the categories, like you said, are more based on like creativity, like, best trick, kind of other, it sounds like stratifiers that aren't involving gender.
Yeah.
Is that basically what
Yeah, because I think like,
preference?
Right, you get a score because you did a really good line. So, if there was a category for just like best street line, like that would be what your score is, right? And then it's like out of that, the best trick, which is something they already did. Like there's just so many different things that you could do. And like again, skating is so different. Like everyone's setups are so different. Like to me it's also interesting because like slide blocks, not that they're anything new, but I feel like when you go into a comp, because a lot of it has most of them have coping, or rails or ledges or whatever, like someone who could be really really good and doesn't even have slide blocks might not want to do the comp because it's like, oh, this is set up for I don't know, maybe a lot of sliding or a lot of grinding or like etc. Like I know that at the street portion, it was set up obviously with like the two ramps and then the middle section and stuff like that. But like my favorite thing when I do street is jumping gaps and jumping things. And you could only like jump the stairs and stuff like that. But like, there's just different aspects and obstacles to like street skating that I think that like I guess you could make a category even for like best line without slide blocks or like best line without toe stops or just I don't know, something like that, because there's so much that you can do with roller skating and also just with the type of setup that you have that I don't know, I just think there's so many categories that you can make to make it more fun too, versus like specifically competing against one another. But that is the thing, we're all diverse, we're all different, we all have our different setups, and some of those setups aid to different things and some of them don't. That obviously that's the thing with competition. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like I've had this conversation a lot where I try to figure out like what those categories would be, and I just think it's like you just have to like make stuff up really. Because I think like with Anders, the person who definitely had like the best bail at the comp, like if that was even a category in itself, like that money that I guess someone would have won could have went to like I don't know, their hospital bills or just like thinking of like those things. I don't know. I definitely have thought about this and I've written down like fun different categories, but I just think that we have so much that you could just totally do so much that isn't referred to gender.
Yeah, 100%. And really what you're also talking about then is like pushing the bounds of creativity too, right? Because you can really make up, like you're saying, like almost any category, and that's going to also push and challenge skaters in new ways. So that's also like moving forward iteration, within the sport as well, which is also like fun. Like it's just more fun to do it that way, I feel like.
Even best bail, that's genius. I love that.
I mean, yeah, why not? Absolutely.
Yeah, which is
a thing. I mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't want someone to try to purposely get best bail, but like, having that one out there is always fun because people are throwing themselves. But yeah, like I always think about like what a comp would look like if no one had slide blocks, because like if there was a category that was like no slide blocks, like you bet your butt that I would try to at least go into it. So it's like, yeah, pushing the boundaries on like, like you said, creativity, and just trying to figure out how we can, push our sport. It's, sometimes you got to go back. Sometimes you got to take the slide blocks off to push it.
Yeah. Wait, what's your skate setup right now?
Yeah, I don't have my skates with me, but they are a 3 going on 4-year-old pair of Jack 1s with a Pro Reactor hub trucks now, with Fun Days and a roller stuff star toe stop.
Sick, yes, we love.
Yeah, I love them. I used to skate on lollies to start out at the park, and I skated on those for like 3 going on 4 years, until I finally was like, okay, we need a new boot, and that was when the Jack 1 came out. That I feel like when I got the Jack 1s, they were really stiff. I loved them. But I missed having that flexibility in the lolly because I feel like my ankles were really like tough basically because of the fact that like I had no support. And now having them for this longer, I feel like, them wearing in, my ankles are starting to get that like flexibility and stuff back. But yeah, as much as I love stiff boots, like I love a good flexible boot too. So that's why I wear them for so long.
As we talked about before, you're known for your show-stopping stair jumps, gap jumps, and doing flips. Do you have any preferred skate setups for any given type of skating?
Yeah, not until recently have I even thought about having a different setup. Because I had to like survive on the one setup I pretty much had for a long time. Now I have multiple pairs of skates, but funny enough, they are all different setups because again, I'm not rich. So like I can't afford to also get another skate with a Pro Reactor or, everything that I want. But I do have most of my skates with Fun Days on them. That definitely changes depending on like the surface, but I feel like I wear Fun Days the most because not only do I have knee problems, but learning to skate on a Fun Day and it being a hybrid wheel, like if I ever need to go to a hard wheel, I am very, very fast. But having like that absorption when doing street skating or doing stair jumps or like gaps and stuff like that is really nice. And also just keeping in mind like being able to do this, long term. I feel like wearing hard wheels is not something that I would ever want to do for a long time, because of that reason. But I thought about having a street setup, because I do like a stiffer boot when I do a lot of ledges or rails, and I do like having a like wider slide block, for doing that type of stuff as well. As far as the plate, I think I'm pretty in love with the Pro Reactor, except they need to figure out their kingpin issues because I constantly have kingpin issues. But I absolutely love that plate. Or the Neo is fine too. Every time if I get a Pro Reactor, I absolutely tell people, whether I do or someone else, to literally toss the adjustable trucks because I've hurt myself and I don't think that it's necessary. Park skating wise, to like have to have another thing to adjust. But yeah, I pretty much just skate on my one setup unless it goes out of commission, then I try to make another skate work. So yes and no. Exactly.
The reality, like that's real.
Yeah, so shifting gears a little bit from, well, a lot of it from hardware to safety gear. So I know that that's like a really hot button issue on social media and continues to be pretty consistently. So I know that you sometimes wear full safety gear and sometimes not. How do you make those calls, and what do you think of the whole safety gear dialogue in general in terms of like bodily autonomy
Yeah.
and all of that?
So I switch off between wearing wrist guards and not wearing wrist guards because whenever I feel unsafe doing something, I will try to put more pads on. Because over my time of skating, I feel like I've
Mm-hmm.
learned to fall. Well, even if you learn to fall, you can still fall in a way that you are not prepared for. And I tell myself that every time I skate, and I still choose
Yeah.
not to wear wrist guards most of the time. But I think it's just like more of a mobility thing. Like I don't like how I feel with wrist guards, and if that's one thing that we could update is, like figuring out how to save our wrists without having to uh there's a word I'm looking for and I can't figure out what it is, but having to like not have compromise, like
Compromise. Yeah.
not have to compromise mobility because
Yeah.
like when I do handstands, the part for the wrist guard is literally right here, and that's where I want to do my handstand or like inverts or cartwheels and whatnot. But um, I think knee pads, ever since I hurt my knee, has been something I will most likely always wear. Most of the time, like I really have to think hard about not wearing it. And if I don't wear my pads, it's mostly me saying like, if you see a really cool curb, you're not gonna do anything on it. You're just gonna keep skating on this flat surface because you don't know the percentage of like what might happen of you falling on your knee. And I don't know how many more times I can
Yeah.
handle falling on my knee before I might have to get like surgery or something. Helmet, I wear every time I go to the skate park, unless sometimes I'm wearing really big headphones. But my partner helped solve that issue, and I now have AirPods, which is really nice. But when I was younger, I fell a lot. I was a really chaotic kid. I have multiple stories of my mom telling me that I jumped off something and blacked out, or I bonked my head, or whatever. And with that, like roller skating is already kind of dangerous.
Oh.
I have hit my head multiple times already in a helmet. That a helmet is my biggest savior. Probably a lot of like my attributes to me, like probably not being able to think about words like I just did, or like stuttering over my words. Sometimes, like I think about something and the words do not come out of my mouth. Like stuff like that could absolutely be to the result of possible head trauma. I don't know. I don't have anything to back that. But that I just think that like helmets, absolutely I'm always gonna wear. If I'm doing park skating, if I'm rolling on a flat surface, again, I compromise normally with knee pads or I just don't do anything wild. But yeah, I hate elbow pads. I most likely will never wear those bad boys. I have one pair of elbow pads from Triple Eight that I ride or die for, and even then I don't even wear them. I think helmet and knee pads are like my 100% will wear when I'm at the park. Wrist guards normally when I'm trying something new, and if I'm just cruise skating or rink skating, then I normally go without pads. But I also don't do those things very often, so the amount of times you see me without pads are like pretty slim.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think of the overall conversation? Because on social media, I find that there are a lot of arguments or comments, unsolicited
Mhm.
comments on what people should and shouldn't be wearing.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you're at because I think if you're going to a park where you're paying for it and they make you wear a
Yeah.
helmet, I get it because it's liability. And, if you hurt yourself, you're taking the space away from a lot of other people who are wearing their helmet and wanting to skate because that takes up time to help you, which like, I totally
Mm-hmm.
understand. If you are a stranger on the internet and you're not wearing a helmet, I'm not gonna say anything to you because I don't know you and I don't like again, that's a comment that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Again, it's your autonomy. You're a grown adult. Hopefully, I don't know how old everyone is that skates. If you're a grown adult and you can make your decisions,
Yeah.
then you chose to do that and that's on you. I do think that like there has been a conversation where someone said that if you're at a public skate park and you're not wearing at least a helmet or something that like because like head injuries are really serious that like you then place responsibility on other people that are at the skate park to help you if something happened like whether you come alone or whether you come with friends like I've had to drive someone to the hospital before because their friends were drunk at the park and they dislocated their shoulder bone. And I was the only person that offered to do that and that even offered to help that person. But in that instance, like if no one offered to help while this person was literally screaming on the ground, like what would have happened to him? I don't know. Like in that instance, yes, that took up the rest of my skating time to like care for that person. So I understand the argument of you should wear a helmet or some sort of pad, but like at the same time, it is someone else's autonomy. So unless you are signing a contract and going to a paid park or going to a park that says you have to wear this gear, then it's on that person. I'm always going to be the person that's going to want to help someone. But again, not everyone has that time or maybe has the heart to do that. That I also think is respectable for someone to just wish that people wear pads because they don't want to have to deal with someone who's hurt. That's also very traumatizing. Like I can imagine for really hard instances or like scary instances where people have gotten a concussion, coma, or even had died because of skate injuries and they've been there. It's really traumatizing. So I think there's like valid arguments for either, but I mean, I'm always gonna at least hope that people wear some sort of padding just for their longevity of skating because I want to keep skating until I'm older. That I would hope that someone else would want to do the same. But I'm not gonna comment or go up to someone and be like, you need to wear a helmet. So
Yeah, and I feel like for you it must be, particularly like you're under a certain microscope, right? As a skater who is also a public figure. And in that same vein, what has it been like establishing boundaries now that you are a public figure? Has that been hard on you or
yeah, boundaries like
just in general, in general. But I'm sure people comment on a lot of things like about your life and your choices.
Yeah.
And,
I think my biggest boundary is just the way that people comment about stuff because I mean, I'll toot my own horn. It's not like it's obvious that I have like a decently big butt. And like no matter whether I'm wearing shorts or whether I'm wearing pants or whatever, like I always get sexualized. And that is something that is like for me a part of my identity. Like I like those kind of compliments I don't like because I've been sexualized from like a young age and just like I am working through a lot of the ways that I love my body and that is has to do with like other stuff than like more sexual compliments and stuff like that. So like when I go on the internet and I post a video, especially like on TikTok, like I'll get a lot of cake comments or butt comments or whatever. And like that's not something I can hide while I'm skating. So I feel like a boundary I will put is constantly like asking people to respect like the type of comments or compliments that you give me need to not be sexual or need to not be like in a certain way. Like I will comment back to people and be like what the hell made you think you can comment this over like, like I don't accept this type of comment or like even with my gender, someone just assumes that my pronouns are she, her, or that I am a woman that like I will comment and say like, hey, in my bio it says I'm non-binary, my pronouns are they, them. Like, before commenting, maybe think next time or check someone's bio. And like those are in the ways that I put too big boundaries because those happen a lot. I feel like some like smaller boundaries are like when people ask like, where's the skate park? Or like, where's the spot? Like not just for safety because the community park skate wise, especially in my area, is a lot bigger than it used to be, like 2 years ago. Like it has always been big, but like just in the fact of like there are literal strangers wanting to skate with you, especially because I have a bigger platform that like not telling someone like this is my home park or this is the street spot is more just a security reason than like it's not that I don't want you to skate here. I just like what if I pull up and you're there and you like I don't know. I just don't know who you are. I feel like another boundary might just be like realizing that like you can slide into someone's DM and try to be their friend, which like totally works sometimes. I also just think that in the capacity that I can give energy to people, I can't do that to everyone. And I have multiple times had to tell people who like come into my requests or even like try to message me every day. And again, they're still strangers that like, I'm sorry I don't have the time and energy to respond back to you or to respond to everything you say or to skate with you every day or to go to a random skate event, because there are just boundaries and I don't know who you are. um, and again, it's also security. Like, well, I love the internet because it has given me really cool skate friends and I've met them from different parts of the world. I think having a bigger platform and recognizing, especially with like comments that people leave and like, just being out there to like more people, it can be scary. And I have to be like, I have to be purposeful with my actions and purposeful with the energy that I give certain people. Um, Not for me, but just also for them, because I know that I've tried to be friends with people who I've realized don't actually have the time and energy to be my friend. And like, maybe they don't make that boundary, but I see it. That like for me, that realizing that's a boundary, not
Mhm.
only helps me, but helps other people. So I think those are probably the biggest
Yeah.
boundaries. But
Mhm.
like I do a lot of community meetups and I go to a lot of events that I feel like there are a lot of times in which people can, come up to me and ask for my time. So I don't think that that is like a hard boundary. And also just social media is social media. When I post something, like I've had people be like, "Oh, are you at that park right now? I'm gonna come by." And I'm like, "No, this was actually a week ago. Like I just posted this now, but this was a week ago."
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just is it's difficult. And you know, thinking that someone thought I was at the park right then and there just because I posted on media is also a scary thing. So,
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, definitely. It can be like I think it's very smart to have particular safety boundaries in mind with things like this, and I think also like social media just creates such an illusion that it can be so easy for people to make up, for all of us to make up our own stories about what we're seeing from someone and what that means about their life and things like that. So, you know, having that kind of illusion also in the middle of relationships can be like really
mhm,
challenging. It can be really easy for people to kind of have certain ideas about each other.
absolutely.
From what I've observed, a big part of your identity online as a public figure has to do with your positivity and all of your good energy and things like that. Do you ever feel pressured to sort of keep that sort of thing up, and that you can't always say exactly what you would want to
Absolutely.
say?
Absolutely. It's hard because even when I post like stuff to my close friends list, like, again, social media, like a lot of people are normally on there to see positivity and probably escape their reality. Like, even when I post like hard stuff on my close friends, I don't
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of responses very often. And I can understand that because, like, again, when you're on social media or seeing social media stuff, like you are not owed anyone's time, even just by them reading something. So, feeling that way and also like
Mm-hmm.
feeling like, not that I don't think close friends like, should reach out depending on your relationship, but like just seeing that necessarily and then doing that on a like more of a global scale, it's difficult because it's like, like I mean, being honest right now, I feel like I tailored a lot of my life to my previous work. So I feel like in compensation of that, friendships weren't always, I guess, I wouldn't say flourished, but like because I'd constantly meet new people or like go to different communities. Like I have a few handful of really good friends, but I also think that work took me a lot of the times that I don't think I could have the energy to put into a lot of friendships. So coming out of that like workplace and realizing that I'm in a different area from the people that I worked with and it's a lot harder to like go up and see those people. Um when I tried to reach out on like more of a bigger scale, I recognized that, like sometimes being vulnerable, first off, a lot of people can judge you, and not everyone, because they don't know you, can understand like in the way that you text or in the way that you're talking or like whatever. So, like, wanting to say things and like be vulnerable and like talk about something, there's just more eyes and there's more judgment than just those close friends who can probably read it and will be like, "Oh, I'll message them later," or like, "Okay, I read this and I understand they're going through a hard time. Like, maybe I'll give them space," whatever. Like, that's not always the first thought that other people will give you. So like even when I talked about Quad Cup, like I barely got any responses to like even the post that I had made, but I had heard that a lot of people had screenshotted and reshared what I said or like, I don't know, added on. But yet again, I didn't see any of it. I wasn't tagged in it. I don't know if that's more of a privacy reason or if just because like people don't want to engage with me. But it does make me feel like whenever I have like something personal to talk about or something that is like really important to me, that like the engagement isn't always there. And that is the reason why I put stuff on social media normally is like I want people to engage. I want to discuss. I want to talk about things. Um, and that could also be like, I am aware that could also be because I did work for a skate brand. And, you know, not everyone I know probably feels the best about boxing necessarily. But like, I still like, even when I put that
Yeah.
type of vulnerability out there or want to talk about something, like, whether I agree or disagree with stuff, I don't want people to think that like they can't talk to me because they have opposing views, because normally opposing views are what push things forward. I don't think that like history itself has ever moved forward because everyone agreed on everything. Like you have to have someone that doesn't agree on something for your mind to flow differently. So it does hinder it because I mean there's so much that I always want to talk about and there's so much I want to process and like talk to other people and like have different opinions about. But I mean I just have to be careful because again, like I have more eyes, I have more judgment. Not everyone is out for the positive. Or not out to bring positivity.
Yeah.
So I normally don't put a lot of stuff, but like even today, like when I ask for help, like I feel that in the aspect of, you know, sharing other people when they need help or just like the community, um, what is the word? Just like the community help, the mutual aid, which I like feel really supportive about. And like I think that all communities should have that in some aspect. Like I still want to put out when I need help or when other people need help because like there's no shame in that. And I also feel like that is a type of vulnerability that I'm comfortable sharing because like I understand other people's like vulnerability when they're asking for help. But yeah, in the aspect of like I don't know. I think Quad Cup was really the first time I had said something and not because it affected me necessarily, but just because I also just felt like I like comps and, you know, my gender identity is like something that I wear proudly and like, you know, for like not just me, but for other people, for like there to be an issue with all of that. I just wanted to have a discussion. I wanted it to be talked about because I couldn't talk to the people that had, you know, like made the event necessarily. And that's not to say that I couldn't, but it just wasn't like spoken about. Like the transparency I felt like wasn't there. So I don't know. I think I'm just really picky about what it is. And I mean I do talk about stuff like with people that I feel close to, but um yeah, I don't know. I think like it just depends on the vulnerability. But I don't know cuz again like I'm in a new
Yeah.
era of my life, so I might feel a little bit more open to talk more about stuff and I guess we'll just have to see, you know, how that happens, but yeah, it's hard cuz I feel like before I ever post something that is like pertains to my life, I have to think about it first and I have to think of all different angles of like how this could be, you know, looked at before posting it. So,
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of pressure. Like it sounds like a lot to consider. You know, it seems like it would take a lot of energy to kind of even just like put one thing out there. You know, with all of that to kind of
yeah,
kicking around.
it definitely is hard. It definitely is hard, but I think like until I'm ever kind of in like tough spots or, you know, those situations, like I feel like positivity is where I push my life and like try to make the best out of things. Like I've always still had a positive outset, even when things have been like negative. So I feel like even with that, like whether I post it or not, like I am still posting things even when they're positive that are tailored towards me in a sense too. So if you look hard enough, you might be like, oh, they're posting a lot of like
Yeah.
really, like positive phrases. I wonder if they're like doing all right. Like, I think if you know me enough, you might be able to like figure it
Oh,
out.
yeah.
But
Sure.
at the same time, like, that's where I'm just like, again, actively searching for positive stuff versus like trying to dwell in the negatives. And if that can help anyone else, then, as much as I would want someone else to help me, I just want to share that on social media too. So,
Yeah, I feel that. Sometimes those are the most powerful shares. It's like those things that you feel like maybe you need to hear because 10 times out of 10, there's someone
totally.
else out there that needs to hear that too, you know?
So with all of this on your shoulders, as Mac was saying,
Hmm.
it's a lot to process. How do you find yourself decompressing and taking care of yourself amidst all
Yeah. Well,
of
I have a
that?
lot of other hobbies besides just roller skating, and I feel like they're shown sometimes like on my Twitch or even just like I'll post like a finished product. But I like to draw, which is where like my cartoon Kianas come into play because the amount of times that like a finished sticker or whatever, is shown, like there's like definitely thousands of like just scribbles on like notepads or, like I don't know, whatever. That like when I'm sad, I normally will doodle those. And I also paint as well. I don't
Yeah.
I kind of relate to being a Gemini and I kind of don't. I feel like Geminis get a lot of hate because they're like two-faced or can't be trusted, which like I don't know, unless someone tells me different. Like and I could be self-centered, but like, I feel like some of the aspects that a Gemini isn't fully me. So I also do series where to like people don't see because it's not brought to the light of day where I draw a lot of two-headed people, which I don't know that I have any here. But I'd be happy to show you some. But I like to do a lot of doodles of them. The two-headed people too are normally in all turquoise. If you want, I can actually grab a painting to just kind of give you an idea. But one's normally crying, and then
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
is normally angry because those are like two of my like strongest emotions.
Hmm.
Not that like anger isn't necessarily like I don't stay angry for very long. It normally like filters into sadness before I actually ever get angry. But I just feel like those two are like hand in hand because they constantly are like together normally. Um that yeah, when I'm feeling like upset or anything, I normally just dive into some sort of art form. That and video games are my favorite thing as well.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have some video game related questions for you. Let's talk about Stardew
yeah,
Valley.
I know I've been playing that one a lot. Um, yeah, Stardew Valley is great. I first started it with
Yeah.
my partner, um, I think like 2 years or something before the pandemic, and, it kinda died off just because, every time you play with multiplayer, like, let's say you progress with the character and someone else doesn't, it will show you the same cutscenes at the same time, and I was like, "I hate this. I've already progressed with this character, and, my partner, had barely progressed with this other character. I hate having to pause my game to re-see the same cutscenes." So I stopped playing for a while. And then and that was like barely just diving into the game too. And also my partner was just kind of like not fully into it anyways. But then I realized like, oh, you can just play games by yourself. You don't necessarily have to like all the time play with other people. And I feel like the only games that I back then were kind of into were like multiplayer games, more like story mode and stuff like that. So recently I dived back into like a bunch of my games and I realized that I had Stardew Valley and I was like, okay, well, let's just start from scratch. And especially since I'm doing Twitch and like a lot of people like to see the beginning and, follow your whole story through, I started playing Stardew again. And it's a very cozy game. It's very cute. There are tons of mods for it that you can get to, if you're ever bored with the game or you want to like make it even cuter or I don't know, just tailor it towards, what you like. You can totally do that. But yeah, it's just been really fun. I love all the aspects of it. I love the fact that like not that it's like I don't know if you would call it sandbox, but not that like you can focus on only one thing and you can never go back to the rest of it, but it's like everything is always there for you. So if you know, I don't know, get all the rewards in mining, you can still go all the way back and like still farm and stuff like that. So I just love games like that where like you can, with especially my ADHD, like you can hyper focus on something, but still have the option to, go back and do other stuff. And I feel like with a lot of like story mode games or just like other games, you have to choose a profession or you have to like do this one way unless you complete the game and then go back to it. And Stardew just has like endless stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
Yes, we love.
It definitely sounds like the gaming is part of your self-care repertoire. Which I
Yeah.
think is really awesome. I'm not a gamer myself, but today I actually got to talking to my friend and coworker, our friend Ari. Ari actually looks up to you
Aw.
quite a bit. You're her favorite skater to watch and try and learn things from. She and I actually both have your stickers.
Aw.
The sticker on our helmets. We have twin Kiana stickers. And she was telling me a bit about Stardew Valley today and definitely sort of like gave me the rundown. But another thing that I really wanted to do today, speaking of Ari, I asked Ari if she had any
I love
questions
this.
for you. And this question from our good pal, Ari Bennett from Brooklyn, New York. Ari writes, "You're such a badass skater. Did you always have this confidence at the skate park? Or is that something that you built up over time as your skills
That's a great
increased?"
question. Yeah, okay, I love this question. So, I think I've always been like an athletic person. So, I wouldn't say that confidence was something necessarily I always had, but like feeling confident in my body was something that I always had. Because I know that I felt comfortable pushing myself and feeling that like my
Mhm.
body, had my back or at least could take those tumbles and whatnot. I don't know about tumbles so much now because I threw my body a lot when I was 18, but like um but that I also don't actively like my only workout really is roller skating. So there have been ebbs and flows in my skate career where like I did Pilates at one point and that was the strongest I ever felt. And now I, don't do Pilates and not that I don't feel strong, but like, there are different ways in which I probably just feel strong. But as far as confidence, I think like having an athletic background, I used to do basketball in high school and having roller derby before going to the park made me feel really good and also having like an idea of what a skate park is because I used to skateboard all just helped with confidence. And then I did do gymnastics for a little bit, but I already knew how to do all of my flips before I went to gymnastics. Again, with this being an athletic person, my parents got a trampoline when I was younger, and I would just throw mad things on that thing all the time. So I learned how to front flip and back flip on my own, and then that was where they were like, my parents were like, "Oh, maybe we should put you in gymnastics. You might do really well." Unfortunately, I was too old, so the things that they taught me most were they pretty much exercised the hell out of us. I don't think I was ever fitter in my entire life except for doing gymnastics. They taught me how to climb a rope, and bars were my favorite thing. So, doing all that was really fun, but like didn't necessarily tailor towards roller skating, as like I know a lot of other skaters have more gymnastics background. My first ever like trick that I did on skates, I guess, besides pumping and whatnot, was a handstand, and that's just because I literally would like do handstands and like walk on my hands all the time when I was younger. So, I think just like again having that athletic background is really helpful, but also like constantly looking for the new thing or looking for, something to do, just gave me confidence because like we were talking about earlier with ADHD, creativity and pushing yourself are things that come with roller skating. Not like I all that background and feeling confident and all that stuff that helps with roller skating was just something I didn't have to learn before. So, um I think as far as like situations go, because I already kind of felt like a misfit and um, was kind of like one of the kids to stand out when I would go to the park and be like the only roller skater. I did have the confidence to send stuff and just do stuff and be by myself. But also being older and like understanding like safety and all that stuff. Like there are certain aspects where I won't go places alone. But I think like having a good support system, like family supporting you and um, or friends regardless. Like there are just little things that build your confidence up that aren't necessarily fully like have to do with like roller skating itself. I guess if that makes sense.
Okay, so during this interview, you shared a lot of what you've learned, and you've regularly shared on your platform different skating tips and techniques. You stream on Twitch every Tuesday, but I know that you've also coached in real life.
Yeah. It's pretty funny because until Twitch, I never thought that I would like really do like online coaching because I always thought that there was a barrier somehow, because you can't see what the other person is doing and there's like you're like, "Oh, am I explaining this right?" But Twitch makes it really easy to be able to and this isn't an ad for Twitch. But Twitch makes it really easy to like have that interactive aspect where like first off, it has a delay, which is awesome because then I can explain something and, I can wait a second and read the comments in real time. So if there are people chatting, they can ask questions if they want. Or if I wait and it's like, oh, no one has a question, then it's like, okay, I either explained it right or like, people are processing. So just like the interactiveness is great. Obviously, if I were to do like a private Zoom lesson with someone, like, they would probably do the trick, come back to me, I would tell them whatever but it just makes it easy too because it's more one-sided in the aspect of like, I'm just giving you a bunch of tips, tricks, I'm showing you how to do it. And if you have any questions from that, then I'm happy to answer them. But it's not like a full private where I'm like critiquing every single person that's there. Because obviously I can't see them unless they're like in person with me. So it has almost like put a bit of pressure off of my shoulders because I'm, just giving my side to things and how I have learned them and how I'm, like, able to explain it, and also, like, if someone's not vibing with that or I'm not explaining it right, they can give me feedback if it's in a positive way, but at the same time, like, people are coming to my Twitch because they want, I guess, me to explain it or me to hear, like, how, my process is throughout it, and
More instruction.
it's just kinda cool because I can teach as much as I want, I can teach as little as I want, and it's also free, and it being necessarily free in a way means that, like, there's no obligation to do anything, like, I don't have to teach every Tuesday or, I don't have to teach something that I don't wanna teach, so, like, for example, I hate teaching cartwheels, like, if you get me to teach cartwheels, you're either a really special person or it's like for some reason I had to teach cartwheels for like the life of me. And like I don't know if I'll ever do a Twitch video where I teach cartwheels, but someone suggests something, I can be like, "I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable doing that. You probably won't see that on here." And I don't have to. And that's not to say I can't do that in real life either, but it just really shows like the tailoring of it while people are coming to me like, you know, it's it is I guess my brand, my Twitch, that like I'm allowed to build it how I would like, and hopefully people like it. But, and then versus, like, in person, like, I do love that aspect where I can, like, just from seeing other people and learning myself, being able to, like, critique people because I can exactly see what the problem is, right? Like, unless you video yourself, you don't know what you're doing. So I love being that person that's like, "Oh my gosh, you just aren't bending your knees enough." Like, it might feel like you're bending your knees, but it's not enough, which is normally every skater's problem. But, it's just, like, a fun, personal way to, um, do a lesson, and I do love doing them in person, not just so I can feel the vibe of someone, but also so they can hopefully feel the same off of me. Because I love teaching where it's no pressure, like, you can feel like you can ask questions, you won't feel bad about doing something wrong, like, it's supposed to be fun, like, skating's supposed to be fun, so I never want, like, whether it's on Twitch or in person, a lesson to feel bad. Like, I don't want you to walk away from something and be like, "Well, I learned something, but I feel really bad about, like, learning it." It's like, no, I want you to learn something and feel good about accomplishing it, or even just, like, finding what went wrong and, like, fixing it. Like, there's never anything necessarily bad to learning or progressing, even if it's really tiny. Like, I feel like my favorite thing too is when I teach a lot of smaller tutorials on Twitch or in person, people will kind of say like, "Oh, I didn't even know that was something I needed to learn," or like, "I didn't realize my body was doing that." Or like, "I'm super excited about the fact that, I can even jump, like I can even do an air." And it's like, yeah, all accomplishments are like really big accomplishments. And teaching those beginner aspects, I want like people to feel confident, to be excited about learning small stuff, especially with social media, because you're constantly being fed like, you know, higher level stuff, most likely, unless you tailor your feed towards, maybe your level of skating. That like, it
Mm-hmm.
just is really fun to, do beginner lessons, especially on Twitch, because most of the time, like, for example, I feel like when I went to camp, like Moxie camp, there were a lot of beginners. Well, the first time that I'd went, because there were a decent amount of like beginner classes, and then I feel like a lot of since the pandemic, because a lot of people were just skating and like leveling up, and like everyone just had time to do whatever they wanted to. It was like a lot of advanced classes were really needed, and it's cool to have like Twitch or YouTube be an avenue for those beginner skaters who might be too nervous to go to a camp, be too nervous to go to a meetup, etc., because they're nervous about like maybe their level of skating or even just how they skate or whatever. So Twitch is kind of like a great avenue for that, where whether they're nervous about having a full private lesson or just nervous to skate in general, like you have the avenues where you can learn stuff until you feel comfortable, skating with other people or being at the level that you would like to be at.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you're a great person to create that comfortable environment for any skater, and that's so essential, especially coming from someone like you who is such a talented skater. And I know so many people that personally, watch you in particular. So, yeah,
Thank
I don't
you.
know what I'm trying to say, but thank you.
I appreciate that. I mean, everyone started somewhere, and I feel like it's like I feel like some
Yeah.
people lose it in ego of like, and I will totally say that I have done that too, but it's really important to come back and be like, everyone starts somewhere. Like there's no reason that you should you know, I'm looking for a word and it's not popping up, but like, be mean, bully, or even like, cast other people because of like level of skating or type of skating or whatever. It's like maybe come back to your start and remember that, because that is where everyone starts off at.
I also just like when I was coaching roller derby and doing some like travel training and stuff, some of my favorite things to coach were like the fundamentals and some of the like earlier skaters. I find sometimes like a little bit of a different vibe with newer folks around like how they're relating to the things they're learning, um and I sometimes find that those folks are in places of really cool like expansion and growth. So like as they're connecting to things, it's just like giving them more and more that they have access to, and that's a really fun time to be working with a newer skater for me personally. So I really a lot of what you're saying
Absolutely.
really
Yeah.
resonated, for me, and in terms of stuff really resonated.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember when I first did like roller derby and I wanted to be a jammer. And there's a lot of work that comes with jamming, but like I feel like in the roller skate or the roller derby scene, like the person who was lead jammer in the league that I was in, like was a bully, honestly. And that's not to say that they weren't being like, I guess in a motherly way, like trying to push me to like be better, which is kind of how they explained it. But like, like that can be really intimidating. Like that's not always everyone's way of doing better. Like for me, or someone being mean to me or like, I don't, not harassing, but like having like more of a harsher tone is not a way that I learn. Having that experience with roller derby, like, yeah, I wanted to be better and I even wanted to be better than that person because they made me feel like shit. But like I don't want that to be anyone's motivator. Like, I don't want someone to be better than them because they're like, you know, I guess being mean to them or that like whatever. Like, I would rather someone want to progress for themselves than for someone else, and also just to have like a betterly created community. Like, no, I mean, I don't know anyone. I'm sure that someone progresses or likes that style of teaching, but like when you first come into a community and you first come into skating, it's like first impressions are really key, and it's going to show someone or allow them to figure out whether they want to stay in the community a lot longer or stay with skating a lot longer. And if you have more of a positive community and positive teaching, etc., like more of an accepting community, like people are gonna want to stay longer and skate longer. And you never know who's gonna come into the community and change it for the better or progress the sport. So why would you want to have any sort of mean attitude towards someone, even if you're trying to make them be a good skater? It just doesn't seem right.
More of this. More of
Yes.
this energy in 2023, I think. I'm here for this.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
In conclusion, is there anything that you would like to chat about specifically? Things that you're working on, things that you just want to share?
I don't know. I'm just really excited to have like this new period in my life because I feel like I do have to get a job at some point, and I'm doing a lot of self-employment stuff at the moment, but I just feel like having this time is allowing me to reflect on the skate community and reflect on like my impact on it and figure out like where I want to go from here. Which I've already started doing a couple of things like feeding more into my skate current local community and doing like SD Skate Fun have been two things that I've been wanting to do for forever. Working with Moxie, it had been hard because I was at like a larger scale or, with certain events, putting more effort into like those things, which was awesome. And I still want to do that on my, own sense. But like, you know, where I started was San Diego, and that is the community that, has helped me and grown me, and that community has grown larger over the pandemic, that I am just putting more time into that. So SD Skate Fun and CIB San Diego have been a blessing to just continue to curate and be with my community. And also just like I've given a couple people skates and even like new wheels and just even like laces, like just seeing like people be really excited to receive those things and for free has been really cool because I wish something like that happened when I was first skating. I mean, it'll probably be out by the time that the podcast comes out, but designing a shirt with gender shredder will be super cool because we've been talking about that for a little bit. Camp is coming up, Quad Cup is coming up again. All that is being talked about. I don't know if I'll be a coach for camp. I am hoping that I will be though, because you know, regardless of like not working at Moxie anymore, like those are the opportunities that allow me to create positive spaces for other skaters. And I'm excited to see like what this year's skaters who will come to camp or who will come to Quad Cup. And like, I hope by that time, with reflecting, I'll probably always be processing, but, like, with reflecting and everything, I hope that, like, I'll be at peace with myself to be able to give more energy to other people at these events. I think this year is the year of, like, having probably, like, smaller projects because especially with having worked with Moxie, you know, like, a lot of stress of just doing, like, a lot of things at once was really hard for me that being one person now, I need to recognize like what I can put my energy into. And um I think just currently those are like the two things with the skate community, or sorry, with my local skate community. And then maybe diving a bit more into my art. Like this collab with Gender Shredder should be like, it's gonna kick off probably another outlet for me or another type of creativity that like my mom helped me do. I might be super excited to make some more merch or make some more like physical aspects of my art. So I think I'm just diving into things that I put to the side when working for Moxie. So and I'm happy to be doing that.
I'm so excited to see, where 2023 takes you then in this regard. It sounds like you're really on this precipice, and I'm hearing, it sounds like you have a lot of clarity about how you want to be spending this time and what you want to be doing. It's just a matter of like time passing and doing those things and seeing what happens. Thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing about some of this.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Kiana, it's been really cool chatting with you, and thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to hear from you. It's been really nice. You're someone I've followed for a pretty long time myself, so it's really cool to like, see on the other side of social media and actually get to know you, have a conversation with you.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for inviting me on here, and hopefully we can skate in person together at some point.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
That would be the dream. That was actually Ari's other question, was
Yeah.
to ask you when you're going to be in New York to skate with us.
I hope one day soon, because not only do I want to go to New York, but my partner has always dreamed about going to New York, so I'm sure it's in the future.
Hell yeah. Let us know if you need anything.
Thank
you.
you.
In Brooklyn and Manhattan right now, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see you
Bye.
then. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
But not really. Bye.